Children's Act of 2005 and address critical gaps and challenges in the underlying childcare and protection system, according to government. The bill also intends to promote and protect a child's right to physical and psychological integrity and further regulate the position of unmarried fathers. Some are saying the bill will cause harm. For more on this and Child Protection Week, I'm joined in studio by Major General Bafana Linda, the National Head of the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences at South African Police Service, and Miranda Jordan, who's the Founding Director of Men and Women Against Children Abuse. Thanks both so much for your time. Major General, perhaps I'll start with you. Is it correct that 1 in 3 children in South Africa under the age of 18 will experience some sort of abuse?
Well, I wouldn't confirm that statistics unless I look at the document itself and what informs the research itself. But we do have a serious problem that most of our children now are becoming more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Miranda, you've said that this bill is not going to protect children, it's actually going to make things worse. Why?
I actually didn't say that. It was somebody from Childline who said it. What I'm actually looking at is I'm actually campaigning as far as Section 110 of the Children's Act is concerned, when we look at mandatory reporting of physical abuse and neglect, because right now the bill says that only certain professionals who report can report, but not just anyone. So just normally when you get physical abuse, and I'm sure the Brigadier will know this, when you get physical abuse or neglect, it's normally the immediate family and extended family who are aware of this, but they do not have, it's not a mandatory requirement that they report. It's only certain professionals that work with children that can report. And the problem here is, as we said, that by the time it has gotten to certain professionals, it is often too late.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about this culture in South Africa and the type of abuse that is going on, I wanted to understand if there's a certain type of child who's more vulnerable to abuse and violence, and what is that child if there's a fact, or is there abuse across all sectors and all types of lifestyle of children in South Africa?
You know, child abuse, has got no color. It's got no color, no class. We experience different kind of abuse of children in a form of conduct crime when children are being raped. You also get, in terms of the cyber crime, where children are also used in manufacturing child pornography. So it's got no color, no class. From the poorest to the richest, we find this crime happening, as much as we arrest from the very person who's not educated to the very highly educated persons that we take to court, even within the religious fraternity.
Mm. You know, I think we really need to look that most child abuse occurs where the person has a lot of access that would be natural. People who are able to groom children, who are able to groom the families, particularly when we're looking at sexual abuse. So I think we need to, first of all, there needs to be a lot of education as far as is concerned, is when we look at things like coaches, teachers, other caregivers. We have the case in Carltonville currently at the moment where a caregiver was videoed hitting a child repeatedly, in fact hitting 3 children repeatedly. Mothers saw some warning signs. Children started hitting animals, behaving differently. They weren't sure what to do about it, and obviously trusted the place and the facility that they were going to. And I think often people don't feel that somebody's going to be regarded as overprotective or over-emotional. Instead of saying, you know, my child's behavior has changed, there's something happening. And when a child says, eat, 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 or smack, 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 and they're coming home from somewhere, it's for us to have a look at actually what's happening there. So I think that's important also to know here.
We've got some statistics on the type of violence that children are experiencing and the incidents in South Africa for 2017-2018. Let's just take a look at that. We see that sexual offences is by far the highest type of abuse that's reported in 2017-2018, and then common assault follows, assault and murder. What's happening here? And we're seeing that it's about 2,600 children are murdered if my understanding of the statistics is correct. So what needs to change in the South African psyche to stop this kind of thing happening? Because the police can only come in after the fact.
We need to look at this thing in this fashion, that you need to be proactive. Prevention is better than cure. Then we are reactive in terms of after the incident has been reported, then it's when the FCS units are coming on board to investigate. But what we should admit, we are living with a sick society. Children are suffering in the hands of those who are supposed to protect them. It's a betrayal of trust at some stage where the very same people who are close to them groom them. At the end of the day, then we see this escalating kind of tragedy happening within our society.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken a little bit about this behavior.
I think I want to just mention, when we look at the figure of approximately 1,000 children being murdered, I think we need to understand that a lot of those children were abused, tortured, hurt in quite horrific ways before they eventually died. The system is desperately in need of working on, because if we look at this, we take baby Daniel, for instance. He was burnt, his femur was broken. It was reported because one of the doctors at Rahima Musa said there's something suspicious when a child's femur is broken, and this does not tally with what the parent said. It was then given to a police officer to go and check and see and investigate. The police officer did not phone the doctor, but in fact just went to the home and actually spoke to the person who was the perpetrator, and he said everything was fine. I think we need to have a look at when those things kind of happen. If we don't have some kind of immediate, rapid response as well to do that investigation thoroughly and immediately, then we have a child who dies. When we have children who are in need immediately for an investigation to happen, for everyone to talk to each other, and by that I mean police and justice, the whole system to come into effect quickly, that is something that needs to be addressed. When we have chronic cases, as we have at our clinics, then we have great pockets of excellence with the FCS where we can have time to work, but it's a rapid response that really worries me.
Major General, we've spoken a little bit about this. When it comes to reporting of crimes that have been committed against children, you are said to be trying to boost your capacity. What is that? And are you ever going to be able to go the electronic route so things go a little bit quicker and there's perhaps much more coordination across South Africa instead of working in silos?
We are not working in silos. We are integrated with our other sister department. For example, we're working together with the NPA, working together with Justice Department, or working together with the DSD. As she's mentioning now, that when there's a problem where the crime has not been confirmed, DSD is the first call of duty to come on board and investigate. Our surface police officers automatically knock at the door, and the parent says there's nothing wrong here. We don't have tangible evidence to break the door or come in and see what is happening behind the closed doors. You need a search warrant to do that. So we are integrated with the NGOs and the NPOs. We're working together. But the issue is, it's not enough to educate our own people. Here is prevention, and also with the awareness campaigns that we're supposed to have. More of that.
Perhaps we could use that example to say what could have been done differently, and is there a way that police can think differently about those challenges that you've just spoken about?
You must remember, this kind of crime is difficult to police. This is crime within the closed doors. These are crimes within the dark alleys where there is no really an eyewitness that could say to the police, this is what is happening. Especially when it's within the family itself. It becomes more complicated.
When we speak,
I agree with you, but I just think that when we need that rapid response, the problem with the FCS is that you can't go directly. So if I have a traumatized child that I want to immediately tomorrow go and report, something's happened tonight, I want to go and report, I have to first go to a normal police station and speak to an officer there and report the crime. And they are not as trained as the FCS. So they already start with somebody who maybe is used to taking down other sorts of crimes, hijacking or robbery, and then only does it go. So I can't go directly to the FCS. I have to go to a normal police station. Okay. This is what most of the people who come to us tell us. I could
just get the Major General to respond briefly as we end.
Ma'am, we have our police stations at a contact point. FCS is 24/7 available. When the case is happening in Hillbrow, once you arrive there, they call the member on standby to come and attend to the matter. So we are accessible. We get the calls from the hospitals. When the doctor says there's something I suspect here, I need an FCS member, we do send the special FCS member. We are 24/7 available.
Thanks both so much for your time. It's a conversation that could carry on for a while, but that's all we've got time for. That was Major General Bafana Linda, the National Head of Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences at SAPS, and Miranda Jordan, who's the Founding Director of Men and Women Against Child Abuse.